What's up everybody, hope all is well. 3 things for today's video. Number 1, 6v6 should be renamed to GOAT mode. Number 2, the playtest backfired on me in a big way. And 3, the ball is in your court, Aaron. This is gonna be a good one. Let's do it. This was it, right? The big one, Overwatch 2 going back to 6v6, huge. In the world of Overwatch, it's largely agreed this was the best card they had to play. A new hero, new map, new mode, whatever, it's not enough anymore. But a return to form, a return to the award-winning gameplay of the original, that's got potential. But by and large, 6v6 is looked upon as a worthwhile thing to evaluate. There's a chance the gameplay's better. There's a chance lapsed players return. There's a chance it grows industry mindshare. There's a chance it reinvigorates things. That it provides a light at the end of the tunnel for both players and developers. A glimmer of possibility, a clear path to walk, a reason to stay invested. But I've got to ask, did it feel like a big deal, like in just a general anecdotal sense? Was it hyped up in game? Did you see a groundswell of content and debate on social media? Did your friends talk about it? Know any lapsed players that returned? What about the Steam charts? Can I tell you, I've never wanted something to succeed in gaming as much as this test. That's wild to think, but the honest truth, I really want to love Overwatch again. But personally, again, anecdotally, it felt kind of flat. It all seemed very anticlimactic. Don't get me wrong, I loved the gameplay. I mean, loved it. But like, where's the party at? So let's get into it. Why test 6v6? What did I think? Did it backfire? And let's start with testing. It's like reinventing the wheel and being unsure it still rolls. If Overwatch is a team game and a wheel's round, we all know how the test is gonna end. So why would a big successful game mess with its core gameplay in such a way? The answer? Success is a relative term. Surviving does not imply thriving. That's where Overwatch 2 is, simply surviving. And with rivals dominating to a devastating degree, even that surviving is being called into question. I mean, just look at the Steam charts and add some context to this. This is not a case where Overwatch is doing fine and just wants to add on to the game. It's bleeding players and mindshare at an alarming rate. But first, let's hear it straight from the game director.
Hello. Hello.
And make it, more of that game that all of our players want to play.
We do want to make the game, we keep saying it, we want to make the game that players want to play.
They want to make the game better, grow the player base, and show players they're listening. Ask and you shall receive. That's new, right? But it goes a lot deeper. We need to ask why. Why isn't 5v5 the game players want to play? Why isn't 5v5 growing the game? Why are players demanding 6v6 return? See where I'm going? As I mentioned in my last Overwatch video, you need to look beyond what Team 4 says and instead look at how they're saying it. Those are not things a genuinely successful game worries about. If you have a successful product, development intuitively iterates and improves on it. They don't change it up entirely. If you have a successful product, growth happens organically. You don't have to go seeking it out. If you have a successful product, your customers don't demand drastic changes. Where Aaron says they want to grow the game and make it better, I hear that they need to. 6v6 was not reborn out of benevolence, in my opinion, rather out of necessity. So while this is just a test, it's not really just a test. It's more an existential thing. It's a direct effort aimed at fundamentally changing the game. It's their biggest bet since Overwatch 2. It's their best bet, their safest bet. If it's a dud, it's a real serious back to the drawing board moment because what else is there? So we're testing how to go. I'm going to tell you in a word, satiating. Fancy, I know, but I picked it specifically because it encapsulates how I felt, completely and totally satisfied. As if I'd fasted for 2 long years and forgot what food tastes like. I was starving, I ate, and it was delicious. I played more Overwatch in the last 3 weeks than I've played in maybe the last year, and I had distraction-free fun while doing so. That love-hate thing we all feel playing 5v5, that was gone. You know what I mean? That moment you realize Ball is your tank, or they have a Sombra or Widow. That moment you realize you can't even interact with the enemy tank. You have no help, no one to synergize with. That moment you realize this is not a team game anymore. All those distractions, those moments where game design is so awful it actually pulls you out of the moment, the frustration of it all, so close but so far, all that was gone. And all that was left was just pure, unadulterated gaming. In summary, 6v6 provides overhead in every facet of the game, at every level, and for every role. And overhead provides flexibility. If you're a support, you don't have to heal bot the one and only precious tank all game. If you're a DPS, tanks are killable. If you're a tank, you're no longer just a meat shield or alone on an island. If you have a bad tank player, the game isn't over before it begins. Counter swapping is no longer essential. New synergies open up. New gameplay options open up. It's more engaging, interactive. It's just flat out deeper, richer, and more rewarding to play. It made 5v5 totally unacceptable anymore. But let's get a little more specific.
1, 2.
This is 5v5. And this is 6v6. 6v6 unleashes the full power of Overwatch. It was a marvelous thing to see the entire team fighting it out against another entire team. The tanks rotating, everyone working together, just slinging lead back and forth at insane levels. You can actually feel the power of it all like a locomotive coming down the tracks. It's tangible. By comparison, 5v5 is just 10 people doing their own things. You never feel the full might of the game, the potential. Rather, it's locked up behind the failed idea of solo carry in a team-based game. Next, I main support. How was it having my second Guardian back? Amazing. Someone to help peel flankers, to walk me through a choke, to take care of Widow, and so on. And with those secondary objectives handled, you could see everyone, all roles, were freer to actually play the game. As an example, many times, almost routinely, 3 of us would go on one of those long, sneaky flank routes. It might take us a minute to get in position, but the point to drive home is they're possible again. 2 tanks provides distraction or cover and opens up gameplay options that are simply unavailable in 5v5. I mentioned I main support, but that wasn't always the case. I was a big-time Zarya and tank main back on Overwatch 1. Honest truth though, Overwatch 2, but all those familiar synergies came flooding back, and that's why I originally loved the role, synergizing with another tank. I don't think there's any arguing. Solo tanks failed, and this is how both the role and game were meant to be. Responsibility and stress are more manageable, and when I was the only surviving tank, I actually welcomed that moment to shine. Like, okay, step it up here for just a minute. This is your test. Team's relying on you. That ebb and flow, that push and pull is a very rewarding loop. And equally as important, 2 tanks dramatically increased the amount of time I was actually engaged and interacting. Fights no longer end when your one and only tank dies. There was always someone there to take the brunt of it. Hold out a little longer, buy us just enough time for the second tank to return. I caught myself many times turning around to run away when a tank died, like you must do in 5v5, only to be greeted by the second tank already back. How about that? We didn't lose too much ground. We didn't get steamrolled. There was incentive and opportunity to continue playing. Also, tanks actually die, and thus you're able to interact with them in 5v5. There's nothing worse than when you see a raid boss tank running towards you with like just 10% of the hit points left and knowing you still have to run away. And in the back of your head, you just curse Team 4's design choices. But that feeling's gone. In 6v6, odds still favor the tank, but at least now there is a chance. You know, again, interactivity and engagement that are entirely unavailable in 5v5. Those are just a few of the high points, but there are so many other reasons I loved 6v6, like Flashpoint Push and Clash, you know, those unbearable game modes? They're actually fun now, owned purely to all these extra gameplay options. Having 2 tanks opens up. When 6v6 is humming, I mean really singing, there's just nothing like it, even Rivals, in my opinion. But the song has ended, and the question is, will we get to hear this music again? Ball's in your court, Aaron. I can count on one hand the number of things that are truly important to me, and gaming is among those. And I can count on one hand the number of games that are truly important to me, and Overwatch 1 was among those. In terms of what a person can give back to the games they love, I gave everything. I dedicated virtually all my gaming time to it, most of my free time, some of my money, and ultimately my soul when I created this YouTube channel for it. But then Overwatch turned its back on me, and so many others. The very players that made the game what it was weren't the type of players they wanted anymore. Overwatch 2 was launched, and with it came the 5v5 format, a team-based game, now with less of a team. A team-based game, now with less interaction. A team-based game that was now a solo carry experience? What the f? You know? But 2 years later, while flirting with irrelevance, Blizz reverses course. Here's 6v6, everyone. Let us know what you think. This is what I remembered. This is what I loved. This is special. But it's been bittersweet. With each passing match, a little voice pokes in my brain. Enjoy it while it lasts. This is just temporary. What are you gonna do when it's over? And therein lies the rub. Playing 6v6 Overwatch again has been so good, so eye-opening, so reinvigorating. I just can't go back to 5v5. It evokes literal disgust to play it. And in a world where the closest thing to this is 6v6 Rivals, and the second closest thing is 6v6 Team Fortress, 5v5 Overwatch doesn't even register anymore. It's not even a consideration. I mean that. I have zero interest in playing a single minute, and that sucks. So, did 6v6 backfire on me? In just a few days, it'll be gone from my life, and because of it, Overwatch entirely, and I don't know if it'll ever be back. So, yeah, you bet your ass it did.
Does my turmoil amuse you, Jim?
And with that, I'm done. Appreciate taking the time. Take care of one another, and I will see you soon.